Welcome back to the morning show where, since I've been hosting for a little bit now, I get to bring in some guests that I'd like to speak with and maybe, plug some of our own stuff. So I brought in Dave McKeag, who's now featuring a brand new show on TV Tuesdays at 6:30, but he's been doing so much more. So we got to get into it. Dave, quickly, thanks so much for coming on the show.
How you doing, brother?
Great. So thank you for taking some time. I know you're going to work as soon as you get out of this interview.
Yeah.
So let's make this quick and concise. Let's do this nice and easy. First off, the Game Sports Show.
Yes.
What even is it? Tell us.
The Game Sports Show is a Twin Sault's only local regional national sports show. Must make sure I put in the statement line there.
Of course.
However, the show started originally as Coffee with the Coach across the river, and then it originated in 2015 where we got from McDonald's. We started from McDonald's across the river,
Right.
myself and Scott Nason, who I say is the true heartbeat of the show, in my opinion, and transitioned from McDonald's to the Wicked Sister. And we were always on Eagle 95.1 at that time, and it transitioned over to Sioux, Ontario, where I was recording out of a cell phone. In 2015, myself, Dustin Grondin, Justin Heichel, Dane Hantro, who was here throughout the hockey season with us, and amongst other friends of mine that were there at the time as well, we're talking sports out of a cell phone, football, hockey, local, everything. And now I'd like to say since 2015, I think we definitely made some turns since.
Well, you've welcomed me on the podcast, so I can definitely say they're not using a cell phone anymore. They've got an audio board. They got really nice microphones. So definitely a big change from 2015
Yes.
to now.
Yes.
But was there ever a point between 2015 and now where you thought, you know what, maybe this isn't going the direction I want it to? Maybe it's time to give up, take the hat off, and just go about, working your normal 9-to-5 job.
That's a very good question. I can remember actually leading into 2015 that I was going through a lot of personal issues myself with mental health, battling mental health, and I wanted to get my career aspirations in path, and always doing a sports show was something that I desired to do. And getting into with Coffee with the Coach at the time, which is now the Game Sports Show, as I mentioned, but one of my mentors, Paul Van Wagner. He was junior across the river. You've heard him on 99.5. You've heard him on Eagle 95.1. He was someone that said, David, just come and be a part of the family here. Get involved within the Sioux High Blue Devils hockey, and then you'll transition to a sports show. So that happened. And when 2015 rolled around, when I was doing it out of a cell phone, I was really happy with myself. I was very excited. I ended up being very proud of what I was doing. And then my career job in terms of full-time money started coming into place, where I started at OLG before I transitioned to the Sioux Area Hospital. And there was a time though on the radio where, yes, I was going through my personal issues, but I was also very easily down about how the show was progressing.
Okay.
And in Sioux, Ontario, the results, I wasn't pleased with the results at first. And I knew I had to enhance the listener and the viewer entertainment. So recording out of a cell phone wasn't going to cut it. Having 5 individuals on a panel with having to pass a phone around without getting their first couple sentences in aren't going to cut it. When you're the Twin Sault's only local regional national sports show, I wanted to keep that name. I wanted to have this market. I wanted to be the individual that people can trust. I know there's a lot of good other sport outlets in town.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of them have supported and been on the show previously. But I knew I needed to grow that way. And I went home one night and said, I'm going to buy a microphone. I'm going to buy a new laptop. I'm going to download the Audacity program that we use. And I'm going to enhance our audio quality. And I wanted to bring in some guests. So I reached out to Connections, and we ended up getting some big guests. Paul Maurice, Joe Bowen, Colin Miller, Craig Hartsburg. Craig Hartsburg was actually a part of the show as a casual analyst now, which absolutely amazes me. And
Which is on Sioux Online's YouTube channel.
yes, it is. And Brendan Brooks, another former professional hockey player who's on our staff as well now. Andy Frost. And there's just the list has grown. I knew I needed to get those big pieces, and everything's networking and marketing. When everything's on social media and everything grows, and then when you have those big stars or big names on there and they retweet it or they repost it, it just drives listeners, and that's when I knew I had to get to that point, or else it would have been time to cut it.
And when you got these big guests on for the first time, was that when I've got something here?
That was, sure, you think you have credibility in that respect, that you have that, but I also knew that I got some of those guests because of connections that I got while playing hockey.
Okay.
And also just in my short life in radio, where I also did some plugging with the Summer Cruiser with Rogers. So you meet connections and you grow. But that's where I knew that I was actually living my passion because I was happy I was doing it. It wasn't the fact that I was getting a guest and that I was going to get a lot of listeners from it, and especially with the Paul Maurice show, which is our highest listener rate to date. It's just that when I was talking to them, or when I was talking to those guests and talking about something I love doing, That's where I knew that this is what I was doing, and that's where I knew the show was going to grow, because it was something I loved and something that I knew that I could grow.
It's so obvious that you love it too. The passion that you're speaking with about the show is great. But 2015 with cell phones, the 2019 with multiple podcasts, the radio show,
Yes.
the TV show now.
Yes.
Can you say you've made it, or is there still something else you want to do before you can officially say, you know what, I'm happy with everything that we've done?
To be honest, I still want more. It sounds greedy, and that's fine for me to say, but we have our shows Monday 6 to 8 live. We're obviously here on Tuesdays at 6:30, Wednesday at Sports Center, then Thursdays at Northern. However, Thursdays have now moved to Sundays just for the summer months outside of Pier 55. So obviously we're busy with a lot of shows, and you can follow our website, thegamesportshow.com, and Facebook and Instagram at The Game Sports Show to keep track of everything that we upload. However, we obviously announced a big partnership.
Yes,
and
that's what I was getting to just now.
Yes, the big partnership that we announced just earlier this week, that we've now partnered up with Sovereign Communications, which obviously is known as now as ESPN. We've now partnered with that. So when someone would have told me 5 years ago that, Dave, you're going to be not only working with Sioux Online, on TV, or having all these sponsors, but ESPN is going to come up to you and ask to air your show, do your show, that is where you know that you're starting to continue to grow. And I have my own media idea that I hope to grow by the spring to help enhance the community in terms of the curriculum with the schools and ideas, but I love how Sioux Online is being involved with that, and ESPN. So I have still more that I want to do, but I'm more excited to have the presence with professional teams.
Right. So this ESPN deal, they actually reached out to Scott, correct?
Yes.
So
Scott
that means
Mason.
they must have heard the show.
It was Sovereign Communications that reached out across
Yes.
the river. That's the direct line here in Sioux, Michigan, Sioux, Ontario. And that's how they reached out. And Scott talked to myself, Butch, and EJ, which is the members are across the river. And we ended up getting the offer where they basically said, we want to have a strong presence with the same show that you have Mondays, but we also want to have a bigger presence in Sioux, Ontario. So we're going to have live content on our Wednesday and Thursday shows. We're going to try to work that out, what the date's going to be specific, so we'll let our viewers and listeners know with that. But we're going to have that presence now with not just more local. We already obviously work with the Greyhounds, the Lakers, and the Thunderbirds, and Sioux Eagles, all those teams. But I'm excited to be able to, now we have EJ, who's going to be doing analytics in Ohio, who's going to be doing analysts with Columbus and Cleveland and the Browns and everything. Butch is in Detroit. Scott's going to be covering Detroit. I can be in Ontario covering the Toronto and Ottawa sports scene as well. So it's just that presence that we have the market here locally, and now we've expanded in the nearby area.
So what is this partnership, quickly too, because we're running short on time,
Yes.
what is this partnership with ESPN going to allow now for the show?
The show, it's going to allow that more live on-air time. More opportunity for listeners to view us at different times on different media bases in terms of Facebook or social media of such. That presence with sport and events in town, locally, or outside in the professional. And it's also just having the extra credentials with the show as well. To have the Game Sports Show be partnered with that, and to have that name beside us, along with the great names that we have already, with like yourself with Sioux Online on NTV and everything, it's fantastic. But I will always remember who helped me get there as well, and Eagle 95.1 helped us with the startup, but we're also very excited to have this new partnership.
Now, Dave, before I let you go, what would you say to someone maybe on the fence, someone that's a local sports fan that says, you know what, maybe this is a good idea, but I'm just not sure if I want to go through and actually reserve that time for the show?
There's a lot of opportunity to listen to the show live, or if you wanted to listen to it on the internet, or on demand. There's so many options you can listen to it. But if you're on the fence about listening to the show, I want everyone to remember that we are the only sports show in town that has all those media platforms. And obviously I mean that in a respectful way, saying that. So we want to cover everything local. So if you enjoy hearing local content, we have that. Professional, we have that. And if you also want to be a guest yourself, we have fan guests that we like to put on the show. There's a lot of opportunity for the show, and for the listeners and viewers, you just have the opportunity on the platforms to listen to us. And if you're on the fence about listening, don't be, because we provide such a realistic feel. We don't really follow a script. We know what we're talking about though, but we want to keep everything real and relatable as possible. And that's where we take pride on the Game Sports Show, and we promise that we'll keep you entertained.
Big things coming for the show. I'm just excited that I'm a part of it. And Dave, I got to thank you for the opportunity.
Brother.
Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
More mornings, Luann and Tim right after this.
Booyah.